This is the Metalheads Podcast. My name is George.
This is Buke.
This is Jay.
We are here today with Mike Hill from the band Tombs. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing awesome. How's everyone doing?
We are doing well.
We're doing great. Hey, Mike, first thing, George and I have to ask, we were at Maryland Death Fest. Has the Death Fest hangover wore off yet?
I didn't have a hangover because I very rarely drink alcohol. So,
okay.
Did you mean?
I was actually going with the sense of 4 days worth of music, sun, heat.
More of a metal hangover.
Yeah.
Well, I can never get enough metal, so I'm not hungover at all either. I have a high tolerance for that.
We only did 2 days and we were beat.
Great show today.
Yeah. Fortunately or unfortunately, we were only there for 1 day, so I didn't get the full impact of the whole festival. Which there were bands I wanted to see on the other days, but just our schedule only allowed for us to be there 1 day.
Okay. Did you check out any of the other bands the day you were there?
Oh, 100%, man. I mean, well, first and foremost, Neurosis were amazing as usual, though I could have used another hour of music from them, but I understand that, there were some constraints. Winter were awesome. I'm a huge fan of them for over a decade at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I also never seen Primordial, and that was a band I was forward to seeing. Demolish obviously were great, and all in all, the day was really cool, man. It was a lot of fun, and I got to meet some people and catch up with some friends I haven't seen in a while. So it was awesome.
Excellent.
Talking to a lot of fans out in the parking lot, and the days leading up to it, you guys were on the tops of many lists that people were excited to see, and it was our first time seeing you, and. You guys coming out with Savage Gold there fucking set the tone for that whole day.
Awesome.
Yeah. Seeing you guys, I'll just make it known right now that George and I, your guys' album was, where we have it, George, 2 or 3 for Album of the Year. Almost.
It was number 2 last year, yeah. Triptychon was the only thing that topped you.
I would have to agree with that Triptychon is definitely better. I mean, I always give props.
It was tough, though. I mean... But pretty much as soon as both those albums came out last year, Triptychon and Savage Gold, I was like, boom, this is what's going to be it for the year. And it just rode the whole year out, and nothing could topple it.
I got to save face, too, and tell you, I wasn't actually on the pod last year, which is why you weren't on my top list, because I didn't have a top list. But huge Savage Gold fan, huge Tombs fan. So you're talking to 3 guys who are really into your stuff, man.
Yeah, we're going to nerd out on you.
Oh, cheers! Thank you.
You sound like you're actually. I know you got your band is from Brooklyn. You sound like you're actually from Brooklyn.
No, I'm not from Brooklyn. I've been living here for quite a while, but I grew up in outside the city. I'm a suburban guy.
Gotcha.
I'm not a born and raised Brooklynite, and
I grew up. That I know nothing about accents.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, I grew up in the Hudson Valley. Sort of like. A little bit further north of here.
So at Death Fest, Buke and I, we were like dead center, front row, right on the rail, looking up at you the whole time. And I couldn't help but think, I don't know if you probably didn't recognize, obviously you wouldn't recognize us, you don't know us, but you might have looked down and go, look at those 2 guys just kind of standing there staring at me, not banging their heads or anything. And I don't know. It was partly awe, I think. Partly I've been doing this a really long time, and I just don't. My bones are too old.
Yeah, I'll step in and say this for George, and we'll get this at the questions later. But George, with being into metal for 4 decades now, is it, George?
Since the 80s.
Yeah, since the 80s. Once you heard this Savage Gold record, I remember you calling me saying there's something there.
Yeah.
I have to ask you, Mike, did you realize what you guys had at the time when you sat down to start working on this?
Not really. I mean, it's just a bunch of raw material when we get to that point. And, it's just what sounds good to us as a band collectively and, what makes it through the quality control filter that we all have. If we like it, then that's all that matters. And really, it's awesome that people enjoy the record, but I never have the kind of ego where I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to be the next
I know what you're saying,
thing, man. I never feel that way about anything. I can always hear little things I could have done better, or I'm like, man, if I had another day, I would have nailed this better, or if I had another week or so, I would have done this differently. But I never think that anything's really complete, until we stop playing the songs. I mean, even the songs on that record, we're playing them live, and with every passing month of playing them live, we seem to be adding like different nuances to even the execution of the songs. So it's really hard to.
And but I watched a video a couple of nights back, just trying to get all the tunes that I could leading into Death Fest. Didn't you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it Savage Gold, the track that you said you got the riff for that when you were doing a sound check?
Yeah, actually, the first song, there's the intro, and then there's Thanatos.
Yeah, Thanatos. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Thanatos riff, that we wrote that in a sound, or I was sort of playing around with that riff in a sound check, and then we just ended up using that as the song we checked with. So it wasn't really a song; it was just a riff. That main riff was something I kind of came up with on the spot, and we just did it in sound check, and I remember like practice later that a couple weeks afterwards, we were just like, what was that riff you were playing?
Hey, glad you didn't. Glad you don't drink, or maybe that riff could have been gone for the ages.
Yeah. It's not that I don't drink, man. Like I have every now and then I have some kind of craft, like expensive beer.
That's us. Yeah, we're doing a metal podcast here, but we're sitting here drinking fancy craft brews.
Yeah, man. It's like I appreciate the finer things in life, and it's not like I'm against it or anything. I mean, I everything in moderation. That's kind of like my ethos there,
Mm-hmm. Hey, not to jump in here, you mentioned you wish you'd had another day for this and that, which I think is a common theme, when recording an album. But do you mind if I ask how much time did you have to record the album?
We had about 2 weeks to do the tracking, and probably like another 3 weeks where Rutan spent mixing and editing and like cleaning everything up and like editing out all the guitar noise between, what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of little tedious things. Like Rutan, number one, Eric Rutan is probably the most meticulous engineer I've ever worked with in my entire life, and he brings out
a bit of a legend too, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a legend, and his approach to the whole project was like meticulous. That's the only word that comes to mind when I think of Eric Rutan. And he spent a lot of time like just there's like you can hear like little noises here and there. He pulled all that stuff out, so it's like the super clean recording, and he just put it all together in the mix, and that took about another 2.5, 3 weeks or so. So all in all, it was about a 5-week project.
Go ahead, George. Well, I was going to kind of jump into something deep and personal, to be honest with you, which I think we all, I know I do, and George, and I'm sure you do, Buke, we all have copies of the album on vinyl.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's helpful to have the nice liner notes and lyrics, and I spent a little time with the lyrics. And also I noticed the album is dedicated to the memory of two people.
Yes.
And I was wondering if you wouldn't mind talking about that a little bit. And I'm assuming that since it's the memory of two people, they're no longer with us, and also there seems to be a lot of themes of death and on the album and the great beyond. So please.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm out of turn speaking about those two because they're not really. I mean, there other people would be better informed to talk about them, but generally, yeah, there was the lead up to that record. There was the specter of passing on to the next realm was like lingering. And I mean, I just don't feel like it's my place to speak out about some of that stuff right now. But I can give you an overview of what the situations were, because I'm not sure how much the people involved really want.
Yeah, fair enough.
That information floating out there, but yeah, I mean, there was right up to the recording session, there was possibility of somebody passing on, and we were definitely in the grips of that whole thing. And so that's why the record's dedicated to the passing of two people. I mean,
and I'm assuming, are the lyrics influenced by that then, or? Well,
the lyrics, in a sort of universal way, I guess they are, because I started writing those lyrics. I mean, my process involves notebooks and journaling and stuff like that. So the lyrics were something I've been working on for probably years since we did the session for Path of Totality. So I mean, those themes were something that are always like something I always meditate on, is like death, these changes of state, and those kinds of things. But maybe in a more of a cosmic sense, the two things sort of converged together, and there was this sort of continuity between the overall arc of the cosmos and like the things that I was working on, and maybe they all came together. That's the only way I could really describe that.
Oh, that's very clear too. Yeah, that sounds well. Thanks for sharing that, man. I mean, I know those are deeply personal things, and it seems like a deeply personal record to me.
It's personal, but in some ways, it's something I think that it's more. Other people can relate to it. It's personal because some of the things that motivated the writing of the songs is personal, but also the experiences are something that are pretty universal, I think.
Right on.
I've got sort of a long-winded career-spanning question that I wanted to hit you with.
Sure, man.
All right, so as a fan of all three albums, I decided to go back and sit down and play them back to back to back to just sort of get an impression of how things have changed over the years. And so I wanted to hit you with my impressions of just a quick sentence, description of how I see each of the three albums and the changes between them. And then I'd like you to tell me how full of shit I am.
Yeah, man, go for it.
And tell me what you really think about each of these. So Winter Hours, I felt like had a very post-metal, post-hardcore sound. The production was a little brighter than the next album. Path of Totality sounded a lot darker to me, a lot like the black metal element was becoming more prominent, and the production was kind of ethereal and almost foggy. It is a very big sound. But then Savage Gold, when that came out, was much cleaner and tighter sounding, possibly the Rutan influence. And it definitely sounded more matured and maybe even a little more progressive and experimental. I noticed that the lead guitar work seemed to be a lot more in your face than before.
Yeah.
So I guess, how do you feel about these descriptions of these albums, and would you describe them differently?
No, I think you're pretty right on with all that stuff. Winter Hour was definitely exploring, more, like you were saying, kind of like the post-metal, post-hardcore, sort of vibe. But, I think that I find that to be pretty limiting in what you can do sometimes. I like that expression, but, at that particular snapshot of where we were at in our, career, quote unquote, that was something we were all interested in exploring. I think that Path of Totality is almost a transition record between between Winter Hours and Savage Gold, because it's like aggression, more like elements of darkness, and there's a more blackened vibe to it. But the production, I don't think captured that as much as it did on Savage Gold, and that was like a transition, like a step between what we were trying to express on Winter Hours, and actually the EP that came before that too was very much in that realm. Mm-hmm. And where we're at with Savage Gold. And, and Savage Gold was one of my biggest criticisms of the way the first two records sounded was that the drums weren't as attack oriented, and it didn't punch as hard, and there wasn't as much of an impact. And I felt that was really one of the reasons why we wanted to work with Rutan, because he's a master at that sort of thing.
Was he someone you or the band searched out, Mike? Did he hear you guys' stuff and come to you?
I definitely searched him out. He was someone that I've been wanting to work with for a long time. And coincidentally, right around the time that I contacted Eric, he actually had become aware of the band. And he was like, yeah, this sounds really interesting. It's something different for me. And, and there was definitely an interesting period when we were discussing what we wanted to accomplish on the album, because I think Eric, only having heard our other records and not having spoken to us individually, probably thought we had something else in mind than what we actually wanted to do. So that was a really cool period of this is our demos, we're looking more for this kind of sound, yet we want to, maintain some of these other elements from the other records. And that Savage Gold is definitely more of what we collectively are looking for as a creative kind of statement. You know what I mean?
Okay. Hey, can I ask you this? Your keyboardist, has he been in the band the whole time?
No.
Okay. I tell you what, that guy's energy on stage, forgive me for not having his name right now, you and him combined with the vocals and stuff, and you guys stage presence. What an on-stage scene that was.
Goosebumps.
Yes.
It's great, man. I mean, he's that's his name is Fade Kaner.
Okay.
He's been involved with a lot of different things. Right now, currently, he has like a one-man project called Static Bloom. That's more in that sort of industrial, electronic, like extreme electronics. Did a tour with Corrections House late last year, and he's still totally active with that. And then the band element, he's a member of Tombs full time, and he joined up late last year after we finished the Pallbearer tour. We started working together, and we have about an EP's worth of material that we've written together, and that's the first half of the set was mostly all the stuff that's brand new. So
that's cool.
Well, I would love to hear about that pallbearer tour a little bit, and also what you guys got coming up too.
Yeah, definitely, man. The pallbearer tour was something we got offered, mid last year, and the tour happened in the fall, late fall, and it was I would say a half U.S. tour. Like we didn't go out to the West Coast with them. It was like broken up in two different legs. And the first leg and the eastern half of the country we did together. And it was a lot of fun. Like I didn't know those guys personally prior to that. And they were really cool guys. And we had a good time on the road. And sort of another really cool thing was meeting the band Vatnet Viscar. Who
I heard nothing but great things about them at Maryland Death Fest this past week too.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're great. And they probably more in line with the kind of stuff I listen to than Pallbearer is. So I enjoyed their set every night, and I really, really, enjoyed getting to know those guys as people. And they're actually going to be here in Brooklyn tomorrow. So I'm going to see those guys tomorrow night.
Cool.
They're playing with Team 49. The tour was great. It was fun.
Awesome. Speaking of bands that you like, when I listen to a Tombs album, I gotta wonder, what are the things that you grew up listening to that led you down this path?
May I also quickly hop on that? I saw on a Spotify playlist, your first song on there is a David Lynch song. Does that go back to a childhood thing maybe for you? Maybe some influence from your mom or dad or something?
No, I love David Lynch's stuff, man. I mean, I was way into him my whole life. It's as soon as like Blue Velvet, like that whole thing.
Yeah.
It's all right. Yeah, as far as what I mean, that soundtrack music specifically now, I'm way into listening to soundtracks. I mean, John Carpenter. Like I just picked up the Halloween 2 Death Waltz LP, and they put out that Death Waltz puts out all these like cool remastered soundtracks, and the Beyond the Black Rainbow soundtrack, Altered States, like that stuff. I'm listening to a lot of that kind of music these days. But to get back to your original question, really for me growing up, my first love has always been metal, and it was like Black Sabbath, Scorpions, Led Zeppelin, except then like the more extreme stuff like Celtic Frost, Metallica, Slayer, thrash, metal, Exodus. And then it was punk and hardcore, mainly because the first time I heard punk and hardcore, I was like, I don't have to be that great of a guitar player to play this stuff.
Yeah, that's the way I felt when I heard the Ramones.
Yeah, the Ramones were the first punk band I ever heard them. And then it all came down to me hearing Black Coffee by Black Flag one day, and that was like, okay, this is like a game changer.
It's actually possible, right?
Yeah, and it's like that was a game changer, like the intensity of that song and the guitar solos, and like to me it was like fast Black Sabbath, and you can't go wrong with that. So those are kind of like the key elements of like the early music I listened to when I was a kid. And then as I got older, the stuff that I really gravitated towards was things like Swans and Joy Division and Bauhaus and Fields of the Nephilim, Christian Death, like bands like that were early on, because the imagery of the sort of extreme metal imagery with like death and skulls and darkness and all that stuff fit really nicely in with Bauhaus and Swans and Christian Death and all that stuff. And and then it was death metal and then black metal and now it's stuff I'm into now.
Yeah, I see you prominently have your Emperor sticker on your guitar there.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
you're also too. There's a piece online too that you're a fan of Godflesh, their Street Cleaner album.
Oh yeah. I can't forget. I don't know how I forgot the name. When I got into death metal, it's like I was having this conversation recently. There was an article that came out, and I think it was Spin, that talked about death metal, like way like in the late '80s or early '90s, and I read that, and it covered basically all of the the earache stuff, and they mentioned Godflesh and Napalm Death and Morbid Angel, and that's how I got into death metal. Honestly, I was reading a Spin article, ironically.
The last place you'd probably expect to read that.
Yeah, really.
Oh yeah, man. Back then, it was like they actually covered real stuff, and now I remember Godflesh was one of the first quote unquote like extreme death metal, even though it's not a death metal records I picked up, and I got Scum and Godflesh, Street Cleaner. And Scum, I didn't really get it at first. I was like, oh, this is cool, but I don't know. And then I put on that Godflesh record, and I was like terrified. I was like listening to this. I'm like, I don't even know if I like it, man. I know that this is like, there's something here, but I don't know if I like it or not. And then over the course of those following weeks, it kept like coming up in my subconscious, like, yeah, this is like something,
It's like watching a car accident. You want to look, but you don't.
Yeah. And then like about a month after I bought the album, I was like pretty much all in with Godflesh, and that was ever since then I've been a huge fan of theirs.
To kind of just bring us back to the Savage Gold for a minute here, because I'm kind of staring at my copy. And do you have any comment on the cover art and the art on the album in general? We have the gatefold. Can you talk about that a little bit? There's the symbol on the back, which I'm interested in, but also this sort of cube on the front. I wonder what's the concept there exactly.
Well, Thomas Hooper is our the guy who does all the paintings for the album covers, and basically the way that artwork happens is I send Thomas like my lyrics and little writing pieces and just bits and pieces of images and stuff that I think is cool, and then I send him demos of the songs, and then he sort of spits out a bunch of ideas that he comes up with through listening to that material. And the cube, when he sent me that stuff, I was like, this stuff just all resonated with me on this like level. And that's the symbol on the back is like our, signature symbol. That's something we've been using since Winter Hours. And, that's what it's sort of our identity. We identify our stuff with that symbol. And, so that's why it's on the album. It's on pretty much all of our stuff. And, the cube, I mean, when I saw the cube, my impressions of it were, with the album lyrical content having to do with like passing into different realms of consciousness and, different realms of reality, like that cube to me represented the borders of what our known universe could possibly be. And then there's another infinite number of other fractal universes that exist outside of that cube, and then we're just like one tiny section in like a continuum of alternate realities and things like that.
Deep.
Can I just say that this fulfills all of my, I'm 44 years old, but this fulfills all of my 15-year-old dreams to sit here and stare at this record cover while you talk about it. Like, that's just such a satisfying thing, and I'm glad it was such a thoughtful process. You know what I mean? Like, for just a moment, it was like Craig to say, well, here's why I did that on Number of the Beast, man. So that thanks for doing that. That was very cool. And I have Buke about that coffee too.
Yes. Yes.
Coffee.
If you go on, I saw. Correct me if I'm wrong. Your guys' Bandcamp page. I think maybe your website. Savage Gold Coffee. Are you a coffee connoisseur?
I'm a guy who loves coffee. Yeah, man. I my whole life I've been drinking coffee, and in the last couple of decade and a half, you can actually get really, really quality coffee now. So pretty much anywhere, and it's always been a huge interest of mine. And with today's environment, having something online is pretty much the way to go these days.
Did you actually go out to the fields and meet with farmers and select beans and, like do what you see on TV, get like a handful of beans and, taking a real deep breath with them and smell them?
Not yet. That's a goal. I mean, I won't.
Let's make it fucking happen.
That's the end game. That's the end game.
Also, I think we could play, you should be piping your music over the plants, man. You know what I mean? Just to really, really drive that Savage Gold thing home.
So can you order that coffee online?
Yeah, you can go to the website, savagegoldcoffee.com, and you can order it, or you can join this club where I send it to you every month.
Nice.
You know?
I'm definitely going to check
we
that
got to
out.
get in. Yeah. Now,
Yeah, and I'm also looking to open up a spot out here. I'm actually, the game plan is to open up a couple different locations, in New York State, and I'm in the middle of like working out like a business plan to open up a location in Brooklyn here where you can get the stuff by the cup. And I'm also, there's a thing here called Smorgasburg. I just met with them about having a stand at their summer thing where the people are going.
Dude, that's awesome. So is that something you go ahead? Is that something you do then? Right? I mean, you were actually quite literally involved in the roasting things.
No, I'm not a roaster. My roaster is up in Syracuse.
Gotcha.
He's this guy Jesse Dano, who is a roast master. We came up with the roast profile together, and we figured out what kind of beans we want to use and that kind of thing. And so yeah, I'm just sort of like the business guy, I guess, or the guy who makes it all happen behind the scenes.
Right on. Hey, I wanted to kind of turn you on to something, just two things. I mean, I'm sure you've seen a million reviews of your record, but there's a great record store here in San Francisco called Aquarius Records, and they really deal almost exclusively with, some extreme metal, but also a lot of underground kind of post everything, you know what I mean? But anyway, and this guy writes these wonderfully, insanely obsessive reviews, and I had actually bought my copy of the vinyl there. And he is completely obsessive. He writes with this very small handwriting, but he also puts them all on the Aquarius Records website. And I just really want to suggest, if you get the time, to go to the Aquarius Records San Francisco website and read the review of Savage Gold. He was just really well thought out and very kind to it. But I just kind of under the fact that was out there.
That's awesome, because I'm a huge fan of that record store too. I mean, in my trip to San Francisco. Yeah, I've been there a couple of times. Yeah, it's great. I always find something I want to get there.
Me too. Every time I walk in, and he's a fan of yours too. Apparently, then that's a great shop.
Of course, I should say hello to those guys next time I'm out.
Hey,
yeah, I always find a bunch of stuff that are experimental things and kind of like I'm into that kind of vegan folk stuff. Like their blue tarsh, like stuff like that.
Right on.
Hey, Mike, I'm sorry. I was going to ask him that.
Go for it.
Mike, are you a vinyl guy too?
I am, but I'm not opposed to MP3s either.
No.
I mean, I'm not I travel a lot, so I can't carry a record player around. So
is there one vinyl that you, if anyone's listening, they can help you get your hands on?
Your holy grail.
Oh man, where should I start? One vinyl that I want that I can't get my hands on, because I feel like these days you can pretty much find anything.
Yeah, with the internet and stuff like that.
Yeah. Maybe Souls at Zero. I don't have that on vinyl.
The band?
No, I'm sorry. The Neurosis. Here we go. Neurosis original pressing. Souls at Zero.
I just got that.
The one
Did you really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got the Rot version though. The one that came out on Alternative Tentacles is what I want.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
yeah. This was like a relapse.
Yeah.
I'm right next door to Oakland, man. I'll keep my eyes open for you.
There's probably copies floating around out there.
Yeah, I should think. And we got a lot of good little vinyl stores here. But I'll put that on my little search list, because I walk into the shops frequently, and if I get it, it'll come your way, dude.
Now, you also, for our listeners here, if anyone's a fan of mixed martial arts, Mike, you also do a mixed martial arts podcast, correct?
Well, it's part. I do a podcast that covers mixed martial arts occasionally. I mean,
okay.
It's the Everything Went Black podcast you can find on iTunes and all these other places, like all the other platforms out there. And the podcast is not specifically about MMA. It's about, I've had guys at, bands, friends, jiu-jitsu practitioners, like Muay Thai guys, like MMA fighters. We talk about, like our old drummer Andrew and I break down upcoming, UFC events and things like that. And a lot of it also is like, people who kind of combine all these things. Like I had, a judoka / spiritualist on like recently, and I talked about that and different stuff. It's not specifically one thing or another. I guess I guess it's like a lifestyle kind of podcast where we talk about music and art, and martial arts and training and fitness and, things like that.
Do you yourself, seeing you up on stage, you're pretty fucking jacked. Do you do pretty intense workouts?
I train Muay Thai pretty much every day, and I dabble in jiu-jitsu. I used to be a lot more involved in jiu-jitsu, but I had an injury recently that's kind of kept me off the mat with that particular martial art for a while. But I'll be back doing that over the summer. And, just martial arts keeps me fit, keeps my mind clear. And occasionally I'll throw around some kettlebells and do some deadlifts and things like that.
So if the ears start getting messed up, we know that you've taken your training to another level, huh?
Yeah, maybe,
Hey, what did you think of the last title fight? The two title fights in one night. That Chris Weidman fight was pretty nice.
Yeah, my money was on Weidman for sure. I think that he's the only guy that might be able to stop him is Luke Rockhold. Luke Rockhold's on a tear, and Weidman being, I wasn't always on board with him, honestly. When he beat Anderson Silva, I thought that was kind of like a fluke. I'm going to be honest about that. But over the last couple of years, I've grown to become a supporter of his, and I like his camp. I think the Sarah Longo camp has a lot of really good fighters, and Ally Quinta's involved with them, and I'm a fan of his as well. And I just didn't see Vitor stopping him. Vitor's got a lot of mileage. He just came off TRT, and who knows, like physically, where he was at. And I think that fight pretty much played out the way I thought it was going to. The Cormier Anthony Rumble Johnson fight.
Boy, he got rocked a couple of times. I thought he was going to lose, huh?
Oh yeah, I thought he was going to get that first shot where Rumble knocked him down. I was like, this might be it.
Yep.
But I got to be honest, Cormier fought the fight that I thought he was going to fight, since he's got a wrestling background. Like he's a wrestler, with strikes. And Johnson, though he's a wrestler, he's primarily a specialist in boxing and kickboxing. And the way to neutralize guys who throw kicks and strikes is to put them on the ground and smother them and just wear them out. That's what basically Cormier did. And I'm happy to see this champ. It's controversial for sure because he was defeated by John Jones.
Yeah.
John Jones vacate the title, but it is what it is. He won fair and square, and they deemed him to be the champion. So we'll see how his defenses go, I guess.
Yeah, that's definitely we'll see moving forward here. Well, Mike, we don't want to take up more of your time. Let me ask you one last question for me here, Jay and George. What are the plans for Tombs moving forward now? You guys going to be touring? You have any new album ready? I know you guys probably are always writing, always doing stuff, but what's in the pipeline? And also going with that, do you feel any sort of, because I know you said you don't really play to the reviews and all the album of the year lists and stuff like that. Do you feel any pressure to kind of live up to what Savage Gold was in the, press?
Not really. Not at all, actually.
Okay. Okay.
I honestly don't ever read a lot of reviews in general because, I don't have a very high opinion of music journalism.
Yeah.
That, just like the whole...
Luckily, we're just podcasters, so fuck them.
Hey, I wrote a review.
There's more validity in this medium right here.
Because you know what the whole thing is? I say this also, I'm a big video game player. Just like with video games growing up, you can hide behind a fucking message board, type away. When you try and put your words to it or actually talk to somebody face to face, it all goes out the window.
Yeah, and also the minute you're reacting to, you give power away when you start reacting to what people say about you, and you let that sort of criticism. There's one thing. There's people whose opinions I value, and they're not journalism people. They're people who are involved in the creation of music and who know about the process, And then journalists in general are people who are maybe failed at playing music and this is their way of expressing themselves. And just like the smart.
That's me.
That's George.
Yeah, but I'm just being honest.
No, that's cool. My philosophy is that there's so much good music out there that I'm only going to write about stuff if I like it. I don't see any reason to write about something and trash it. That's just, what's the point of that? So I only cover things that I'm excited about and want to say good things about.
Yeah, I mean that's. I mean, I delve in that world a little bit, and when I do write something for a website, it's always something that I care about. It's never like I don't get on, get myself all psyched to like smash somebody. Like that's not the way I am, because music is such a subjective thing.
Because he can take it out on someone's face later.
I mean, music is like a personal thing. It's like, I like a lot of stuff that people think is cheesy. I love Dokken. I listen to the first 2 LA Guns records all the time. And that's like not, that's not something that most people would probably think is really that cool,
but no one's going to say it to your face. They suck because you're big and scary looking.
Nah, man. I'm like totally cool with people, man. Anyone can come up and talk to me. I don't have any problems with anybody. I just like, it gets weird when it's online because everyone is like a faceless entity out there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's the one thing I don't like.
That's why I sign everything. Put my picture up there. You know where to come.
No, that's great.
So you guys have any more tours the rest of the year? You playing any other festivals?
Oh yeah, we're doing a Roskilde Festival in Denmark in July, and that's just like a fly-out thing. And I never heard of it until we got offered to do it, and I just thought it was going to be just another type of road burn style fest. But it turns out that it's actually one of the largest fests, or probably the largest fest in Scandinavia. And,
wow!
I'm sure
we're not sharing the same stage, but the day that we're playing, like Kanye West and Paul McCartney are also playing. So,
well, that's different.
It's like that kind of thing. But the stage that we're playing is like more extreme music.
Yeah, Mike, wouldn't it be fucking crazy if you look over to like on the fucking drum riser to your right, it's just Paul just watching you?
Oh no, I really dig what they're doing there.
I would be. Although I'm not a Beatles fan, I have tons of respect for Paul McCartney. And that would make my whole year.
That would be fucking amazing.
So, is there any chance that maybe next year we might see a new record?
Actually, I'm going to tell you, I'll do you a solid. We're actually recording an EP in July after we get back from that festival.
Yes.
So there will be some new music available by us this year.
Excellent.
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
Then we're doing a Hopscotch Festival in the fall, and there'll probably there's more. Very likely that there will be a short tour around that, which will go through Baltimore. So
excellent.
We'll be in the mid-Atlantic states for a few, a week or two probably around that fest.
We'll see if we can make that. So, is there? Do you have a release date for that?
No, actually, this is like a pretty low-key thing where I'm just scheduling the mastering, and probably right around Hopscotch Fest is when it's going to be out. So.
Okay.
I don't have an exact date.
That's a scoop. You've given us our first scoop ever, man. That's awesome.
That's it.
Exclusive.
And Jay, you have any more?
No. I really just want to say thanks. Know that there are people out here listening to your records. We're listening to your records. I think they're great. It's fun to watch your growth, and we're so happy that you came on, man.
Yeah, and Mike, I'll just echo what Jay just said. Again, we're huge fans. Spending the whole weekend talking to fans at Maryland Death Fest, Tombs came up in every single conversation.
Oh, cool, man.
You guys are really doing something special. So keep it up,
and we'll keep spreading the word to anyone that'll listen.
Yes, and more importantly, thanks for spending your Saturday here.
God, that's no problem, man. Like this is like a pretty prime time for me. I mean, it's not like I didn't have to get up early or any of those things, and it's noon, so.
Can I have one last question? Where's the best place to get Tombs merch? I couldn't find any shirts at Death Fest.
The website?
Oh, we had a table at Death Fest.
Really?
We were like right next to it was just in winter, away in this corner. But yeah, as far as getting merch from us, like online, Relapse carries our shirts. You can go to our own web store, which I think most people don't know exists, and that's on tombscult.com. And you can also go to Shirts and Destroy and Shirt Killer. And Shirts and Destroy, I think, sold out. And Shirt Killer actually has a great, fairly new design that's up that my friend Glenn Smith did for us. And it's a 2-sided shirt. And, it's available only there. So it's an exclusive to Shirt Killer.
I'm assuming that Savage Gold double disc gold discs are all gone, huh?
Pretty much, we have copies that we're selling at shows. So,
Sure. So when you come through, we'll put a couple extra bucks in their pocket.
Yeah, definitely.
I've got one.
Of course you do. Of course, this fucking guy.
I've got
But I
them
mean,
all.
I think Relapse is like they repress everything. So I mean, there's like later pressings of the record available still. I think.
Right on. I got to have that gold one, man. But I'll find it when you come through.
Yeah, I'll make.
Cool.
I'll see if you got any left for sure.
Hey, that's that second website again. That was T-shirt Killer.
Shirt killer.
Oh, Shirt Killer. Okay,
It's shirtkiller.com.
cool.
And they have like a fairly new, maybe a few months old design that's up there right now.
Right on.
Very cool.
All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap this up then. Like I said, thanks for coming on.
Awesome.
Hey, George, you didn't even. Mike, I could ask you anything you
Thank you
want
guys for
to.
having me.
You have to plug anything you want to mention.
No, I just want to thank everyone. I mean, those are just really nice things you guys said, and I just thank everybody for listening and coming out to the shows, and it means a lot to all of us. And if you guys definitely come up and say hi next time you see us, and we're here to fucking kick it every time.
Excellent. We'll check out.
Cool.
We'll check out the
coffee
dates.
together.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, buddy.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks a lot, man.
We'll talk to you later.
Take care.
Bye bye.
You got it. Bye bye.